In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I turn this silver wok into this beautifully seasoned wok. I'll go over the keys to a good seasoning and break down how to season a wok into 3 simple steps. Once a wok is properly seasoned, cooking eggs should be non-stick like this. Hey guys, I'm Jason, and on this channel we talk about home cooking and lifestyle. I'll be making more videos on woks, such as how to clean a wok, how to maintain a wok, and also recipes. So if you're new, be sure to subscribe. If you're searching on how to season a wok like I was a few years ago, it can be a little bit confusing. When I did my research, I came to realize that everyone has their own unique way to season a wok, which there are many ways to season a wok, but I only had one wok and I didn't know what way to season it. But now that I've seasoned a handful of woks, I wanted to make this video to save you time from researching all the different ways like I did, and also to give you a general guide on seasoning a wok. So if you wanted to do it a little bit differently, you can, and you can still have a very good seasoning. My goal is not to only show you the steps on how to season a wok, but also to explain why I do them and the importance behind the steps. So let's get started. This is the wok that I'll be using to season in today's video. This is a special wok that was sent to me by the special people at Master Star. A while back, I made a review of one of their woks, which I deemed the Rolls Royce of woks. A Rolls Royce is a very expensive car. They make a very expensive product, and I stand by that statement because when you look at the type of materials that they use, the way it's produced, also the overall quality, and of course the look, I think it's a notch above any of the woks that I've been able to find from any local stores and even some online. So when they asked me if there was any other woks that I'd be interested in, I could not help myself but tell them that I would be interested in this flat bottom wok. Now don't get me wrong, seasoning wok, you don't have to have any special fancy wok. You use any type of wok. As long as you follow these 3 steps, you can season any wok. The first step to seasoning a wok is cleaning your wok. Now it's always best to follow your manufacturer instructions on how to clean your wok. Here I'm just running it under some cold water and scrubbing it with a soft sponge and detergent. The goal here is to remove any type of manufacturing oil that was put on the wok. They put this oil on the wok to prevent any type of rusting during transit, but we want to remove it so that we can season the raw bare steel. Once the wok is clean, we can dry it off and move on to step 2. Welcome to my backyard. I got my handy dandy wok, and now we're going to get it onto the stove. The second step to seasoning a wok is bluing the metal. In a nutshell, what we're doing is heating up the metal to such a high temperature that the metal starts to react with the oxygen in the air. Once the oxygen starts to react with the iron on the surface of the wok, you'll start to see the surface turn blue. This is my favorite part of seasoning wok because it just completely transforms the look of the wok, and it's just such a cool process to see. If you want a more detailed explanation of this process, I'm going to write a blog post and I'll link it down below. As you notice, the center of the wok is the first part that becomes blue, and then it slowly moves up to the sides of the wok. This is because the center of the wok is the hottest, it's the closest to the heat. The center of the wok got up to 700 degrees Fahrenheit, and then as I moved up to the sides of the wok, it went down to 200 to 300 degrees. If you need to, you can always move the wok around to get it closer to the heat. Also, once you get towards the handle, if you have a wooden handle like I do, it wouldn't be a bad idea to take it off during this process to make sure that it doesn't get damaged. Although bluing the wok does look really cool in my opinion, it's not just cosmetic. The key to any good seasoning is that number 1, it protects your wok from rust, and number 2, it creates a non-stick finish. Bluing the wok will actually help in both of those areas. It can protect against rust because since you blued the surface of the wok, now there's a barrier that will help prevent oxidation of rust forming on the surface of the wok. The blued surface of the wok also has an affinity to oil, which means that as you season with oil, it'll bond more easily and it'll bond more strongly to the metal. For those 2 reasons, I always blue my woks before seasoning because you can only do it before you put any oil on the surface. If you already put oil on it, you can't blue it afterwards. Moving on to the third and final step to seasoning a wok, we'll need to apply oil and heat. I'll demonstrate 2 different ways to do this step on a stove using grapeseed oil. Generally speaking, when seasoning on a stove, you're going to want to use a high smoke point oil. Of course, you can use other types of fats like lard or specialty seasoning products, but I think for most people, a high smoke point oil will be the most common route. You can also do this step in the oven if you prefer. That would lead to the most even and uniform seasoning. I've done a video on that, which I'll link down below. Now I'm sure you noticed I poured in a good amount of grapeseed oil. That is because for the first method, I'm going to fry some sliced onions, and then for the second method, I will reduce oil and pan fry some ginger. Once the oil is starting to get hot, I'm simply going to place the onions in the wok, then use my wok ladle to stir and mix the onions, making sure that the oil reaches the upper walls of the wok. I'll keep doing this until the onions are blackened. Now there are a lot of videos out there that will tell you to apply thin layers of oil to season the wok. For cast iron and seasoning in the oven, I would probably go that route, but for carbon steel and seasoning on the stove, I'm not a big fan of wiping layers of oil onto the wok. The reason why I don't like wiping layers of oil onto the wok while seasoning is because this will most likely lead to an uneven seasoning. You might get some dark oily streaks or tiny specks and sometimes sticky spots. Functionally, it's not a big deal, but I'm pretty particular about my woks, and from my experience, using more oil doesn't create any streaks and it'll still produce a great non-stick seasoning. Now if you're wondering what exactly is going on with the wok and the oil that makes the wok non-stick, you have to understand polymerization. When the oil polymerizes, that just means that the oil is going from a liquid to being a hard solid substance. The best example of this in your own kitchen may be oil stains that have hardened around the stove burner or grease stains that are baked onto an oven baking sheet. They're hard to scrub away and are a pain in the ass to remove, and that is essentially what you want on the surface of your wok. We want the oil to fill up these tiny holes and harden so that the surface can become completely smooth. The key to the process is the heat being applied. Once the oil is heated past the smoking point, the oil will polymerize. Now that my onions are blackened, I'll just toss them out and pour out the oil. I'm using some paper towels to wipe out any burnt bits and also spread some of the residual oil on the outside of the wok. With a clean paper towel, I'll wipe off as much excess oil as I can so I don't get any oil streaks or spots on the outside. The surface of the wok is now noticeably darker compared to just the blued surface. Over time with use, the seasoning will continue to darken and patina, and that's exactly what you want. Now I'm going to season the wok one more time with ginger. I'll be using less oil this time, but the process will be very similar. I'm going to spread the ginger and the oil around the walls of the wok until they are blackened. Now if you're wondering if you have to use onions and ginger to season wok like I am, the answer is no, it's not necessary. You could just use oil by itself to season a wok. However, traditionally herbs like ginger, green onions, or chives are commonly used in the seasoning process because it helps remove impurities and it helps prevent your first few dishes from potentially having a metallic-y taste. Personally, I like using herbs to season a wok because it's easier to spread the oil around the walls of the wok. There are many ways to apply oil to season a wok. A lot of it just really depends on personal preference. I showed you 2 different ways that I like doing. Like I said earlier, what you're looking for is a wok that is protected from rust and has a non-stick surface. I may be biased, but I think the seasoning came out extremely well. Now, if you found some value in this video, do me a favor and season that like button down below. Make sure it turns completely blue. Looking at it, the first thing that came to mind is that children's book, The Rainbow Fish. You got some purples, you got some blues, it's shiny. It also has a pebbled look, which makes it look like scales. Unlike Rainbow Fish, I'm not gonna share, but the good news is that you can do this yourself. Once again, you can get this wok from Master Star. The seasoning in particular is slick and not sticky. I did 2 coats of seasoning on this wok, although it probably would have been fine to start cooking with just 1. This is the initial seasoning, and the seasoning will continue to get better the more you use it. If you have a preferred way to season your wok, leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.